morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jeff, and you are watching the Schwa Mill, where our goal is to help you craft your accent. You can send us American English pronunciation files, and we'll take a listen and give suggestions and also let you know what's already sounding very, very natural in your speech. Hope you guys are doing well. Typically, we begin again at 1:30 p.m. New York time, but we had a little bit of a delay. Denny is in the house. Ciao, Danny. Come stai? Tutto okay? Let me know what's going on with you. Also, if you're watching us for the first time, I would love to know how your weekend's going, how you found us, what brought you here, and things like that. If you're feeling brave, send us a pronunciation file because we would love to hear from you as well. But in case this is your first time or you're watching this on the replay and you're like, I've never heard of you guys before, what is this straw mill business? I'd like to kind of just walk you through the process. That way you know how everything works. Hello also to Emmanuel checking in. Excited to hear his file. Hello to Shok. Shok sent us another great file. Let's get excited about that. But let me walk you through the process of how you can send in your own pronunciations. That way we can help you out. Give me a moment to share my screen so we can walk through all of these steps. Okay, so basically there is a link. I'm going to put this into the document here. Hello to Nick's checking in as well. Welcome back, Nick. Good to see you, man. Glad you can make the stream. Nick and I have a bunch of fun in class. It's pretty much half the class just laughing. Yeah. Non c'è da lamentarsi. We're good. Everything's good. I do again have to apologize about the lateness of this stream. I am working on our next video, and I'm really excited about this. This video has been particularly fun for me to make. I hope you guys like it. I am enjoying it, but I hope you guys like it too. Hello to Tib checking in. I saw Tib just sent us a file, which is great. So just to kind of highlight really quick before we even talk about the steps, our next video, keep an eye out for tomorrow, is I'm basically giving myself the challenge of can I learn a new accent in 30 minutes? So that's my challenge. I took a class. It's already happened. You guys can listen and you guys can let me know. I basically go through the steps I took in preparation. I recorded the class that I had. So we'll go through some tips and I also just kind of like some strategies. So if you were learning a new language or just applying this to English, what are some things you maybe want to consider to help you improve your pronunciation faster? It's a lot of fun to make it and hope you guys like it. It's probably going to be a little bit long, but I think it's enjoyable, I hope. Denny does ask us the question. My sixth file is about the challenge from last week. Remember? I do remember. Yes. So Denny's going to compare for us short eyes versus long eye sounds. Everyone's asking what kind of accent? What kind of accent? I'll give you a clue. My teacher's name was Mizuki. That's so it is not an American accent. And I mean, it's not an English type of accent. It's an accent in a different language, a language I have never studied before. Okay. But anyway, sorry, I always get distracted. And you guys don't want that. You guys want to see how to actually send in your files. So excuse me. So basically, if you go to that link that I have posted right here, this is where it's going to send you. And you're going to see at the top directions to send in your audio. You're going to go to vocaroo.com. Okay. And this is what vocaroo.com kind of looks like the first time you're there. And basically, you're going to see like a big fat record button there. Okay. So you can press that. You record yourself. It's then going to give you a file that looks like this. And you're going to see that down here to give you a link. You can then use this link, press this copy button, and paste it. Control V that link right here. And if you want us to see your name, then you can. It'd be great to know how to address you. But if you want to stay anonymous, that's cool too. And it also helps me if you write the text, because then just in case there's ever any issues with the audio or if we have some questions about what word was pronounced, we can talk about that. But just some things to consider. Yes, it's a secret. Shh. It's a secret, kind of. Kind of spoiled. I mean, not many languages have names like that. But yeah, I'm excited for it. It was a lot of fun to do. That's actually part of the reason why I was a little bit late. The editing for it's kind of crazy because there's so many moving parts. That's actually a good phrase. Like if something's really complicated, something you can use to describe it, you can say there's lots of moving parts. And Denny's talking about his file. Denny's saying that he compares American short I sound to the Italian one. And I did peek your file, Denny. I do think there are some things that we'll want to talk about, but I get what you're saying. But again, there are some things that we'll want to discuss. By the way, if this is your first time in the stream, I would love to know. Just say, hey, I'm new. We want to welcome you. We're friendly. We're mostly friendly. We're kind of guys. Would you say we're friendly? Let me know in your chat. Do you think we're friendly people, or do you think we're just like harassing and giving everyone a hard time? Emmanuel's asking a great question too. Any chance for Mission English class this week? This weekend? I don't think I can do the makeup class. So basically, if you're not familiar, Mission English is a group where we meet Monday through Friday for a 30-minute live stream. Kind of like this, but think of it more, you can join me on screen and you can ask your pronunciation questions and we can answer your questions and we can do exercises together. And basically in Mission English, you get 18 or more live streams with me for the price of $30. So basically you're paying less than $2 a class. So if that sounds like something you would like to do, you want to join our community, we have so much fun. Our discussions go crazy, and we also improve pronunciation at the same time. It's very informal, it's very relaxed, but I think also very informative. I would say Mission English could be a great opportunity. It's also way cheaper, because you look at a lot of the other offerings for pronunciation classes out there. I mean, you can spend $30 on a class, $40 on a class, or way more than that. And the reality is that, hey, for $30, you're getting 18. So that's kind of something to check out. You can join at fluentamerican.com/Mission English. You can also see some tickers about that below. How barbaric, talking about our family or just some nice old spam. Nothing like some good spam. We don't bite. That's true. We do not bite. We're practically family. Pretty much. Io direi di sì. Comunque, let's, is there anything else I need to know? Oh, also let me know what's going on with your weekend. I can tell you, we took my son is 4. We took him to, he has a soccer game, calcio, football, however you're calling it, in your neck of the woods. And basically it just involved him playing with the nets in goal and playing with the corner flags. So that's how our morning went. I think my son's a little bit young, in all honesty. Aw, Denny's just trying to butter me up. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Very kind. Let me know how your weekend's going, because that's pretty much how mine is. Editing and watching my son roll around in the... Thank you, sir. Rolling around in net. That's pretty much how we're going over here. I think that's pretty much all I have in terms of structures and things. I'm excited to get into your pronunciation files, so let's kind of get right into it. He was not the goalie. There was actually a goalie in the goal, and he just kind of went in behind her and just rolled around. I mean, guys, this is how 4-year-olds... That's how 4-year-olds do. Now he's going to get some pizza. What's your favorite topping, man? Oh, I already know. Get yourself some pineapple. Go get your pineapple on, Denny. Go do that. All right, I think that's everything again I have for you guys. Let's get into listening to your pronunciation feedback. Oh, let me add myself there, right? Again, it's not little, it's more little.
The G host was class.
Are you feeling that here, or here? All right. Once again, you can see I've already put on my headphones a little early. I just did it unconsciously. I just looked up and had them on. Sometimes that happens. I remember once I was like looking for my glasses, and my glasses were already on my face. And that's how things go sometimes. But anyways, I have my headphones on so that way I can hear you, and I'm going to share my screen so you guys can hear me as well. And as we go through this, feel free to ask questions and things like that. Anything you're not sure about, any way I can help you with English, with school, with life, with romance. Sometimes even that comes up in class. Anything we could do to help. Hey, let's get it done. All right. So again, here's our document. We have some files going. Let us see. Oh, he likes to go for the spicy one. No, that's not. Like I feel like if you said that, like if you went to people, you said like pizza diavola or like something like that. Like I think people would kind of get the idea. But that's a good question. Like those like super spicy pizzas aren't actually super um like pepperoni usually in the US is not spicy. Um if you want like spicy pizza, usually what you're gonna get is you're gonna get like jalapenos on it. That's probably the typical one. But there's not really a spicy like sausage or salami that is used in the US very commonly. By the way, guys, what are some popular pizza toppings where you are? In the US, it's pepperoni, but not pepperoni, not the same thing as what you get in Italy. That can always confuse people who go from the US to Italy for the first time. They can be kind of disappointed if they order that. Um, but yeah, in the US, if you want spicy pizza, yeah, usually it's jalapenos. But I'd love to know because it's interesting seeing pizzas from different countries because there usually are some pretty major differences. I'm actually going to start from this end. We're going to try to give some feedback for people. Let's see what we have for our first file. Let me also make myself a little bit bigger. There we go. And for here.
Hey, does you want to make some extra money?
Okay.
Hey, does you want to make some extra money?
Starting off with Tib. Okay. Mr. Go Big Go Home's in the house. Question. Joe Schmo. Joe Schmo just means like a nobody or like just like a random person. Like you're like I don't want to just like buy something from Joe Schmo. Like I want to buy it from someone I trust. So in that case, like Joe Schmo just means like a random person. It's not a real name or it's not a real person. It's just like you're just making it's like saying anybody. But again, let's listen to our file. That was a great question.
Hey, does you want to make some extra money?
I think in general it sounds really good. First of all, I like your breath. I think it does a lot of you're really flowing from one sound to the next. Lots of linking.
Hey, does you want to make some extra money?
Okay, I would say I want to hear the sound.
Hey, does you
Uh, can you hear a difference between versus I do think you're There's other places like the money I thought sounded okay, and money has a schwa sound as well, but I think that the sound here sounds a little bit more of a higher placement. Versus
hey,
versus again just kind of closed off in the throat there, so that's something I would be paying attention to a little bit.
hey, does you want to make some extra money? Hey, does you want to make some extra money?
Does he want to make? I like your linking there. Does he want to make? So again, want in two very often becomes wanna. So the T's are going to just link together and actually kind of disappear. So like wanna, and notice that two often gets reduced to ta, and then because these T's are going to actually just kind of disappear, we're just going to like wanna. Okay. So again, this typically happens when you have an N plus a T. It's very common for the T to disappear. We see this in words, for instance, like center or an interview. Same thing with wanna.
Hey, does you want to make some extra money?
Maybe just want to hear make really quick. Yes, Joe Schmo is a good term to use. Denny mentioning that. And then Riddick saying, hello, hello. Good to see you, Riddick. Thanks for stopping by the stream.
Does you want to make some
Maybe on make, you could have held your vowel just a little bit longer. Because just a note about that. Does he want to make? Does he want to make? Does he want to make?
does you want to make some
Does he want to make? Do you want to make? So like your vowel in make is just so fast, and in general, remember American English, the most important sounds are going to be your vowels. So you want to hold your vowels a little bit longer. So for make, I would hold that a little bit more because it's a little too fast. Also because does he want to make? Does he want to make? It's that word. I don't think it's stressed. I probably wouldn't stress it, but I would say that I think it probably is going to get a little bit more emphasis than a lot of the words before it. Like, does he want to make, like, does he want to, that whole section there, there's nothing in that moment that really is going to receive stress. So, make is probably the first moment where that will change a little bit. So, just hold that vowel a little bit longer.
does you want to make some extra money? For money?
Money. Okay. And what I would say is that for that E sound, you could, there's nothing wrong with the way you said it, but that E sound you could hold a little bit longer. So if I were going to say this sentence, where is it? Here it is. Put it on screen for you guys. I would say this: Hey, does he want to make some extra money?
Hey, does he want to make some extra money?
Okay. So especially pay attention to that sound and to the make. Those would be my biggest comments. But lots of great things happening here. Really nice file to start off our time. Thanks for sending that file. Appreciate it. Some quick things I want to address really quick. Ooh, Emmanuel has a point I just want to highlight. Thank you so much for the kind words, Emmanuel. Emmanuel saying, love the latest shadow video. Hope we get more. Our practice. Yeah, for sure. You know, one thing that I see a lot in my classes when I'm doing work with students is, for one of the more popular options is like a 30-minute pronunciation class. So one thing we do a lot is we look at dialogues from native speakers. And, it'll be a long thing. Like I could show you the types of the transcripts that we work with. Give me a moment. And what you're going to see is that these dialogues tend to be, they're taken from interviews. So they do tend to be very, very long. Hello to Zubeda checking in. And Riddick's also agreeing that they like the shadowing video. Appreciate the kind words, guys. But one of the things that we see with these transcripts, I'm going to share my screen once more. Ooh, and let me make this actually a little bit bigger. Slide this over here. Large, large, large. Change our format. So many things to do. Oh my gosh. So again, this is our format here. And so, this is a whole dialogue. But in all honesty, in a 30-minute class, because there's just so much information. There's so much information. So for instance, we often in like a 30-minute class, we might only get through like the first two sentences here. Honestly, like from if it's super action packed down to safe place. That's probably as far as we're going to get in about a half hour, just because there's so much to talk about. There's the stresses, the linking, the intonation patterns, the thought groups. There's so much information. So again, just a really quick tip: if you're studying pronunciation or shadowing or even just listening, and let's say you're doing it by like watching a video or like watching a movie or your favorite TV show, one of the biggest mistakes I see is that, people put on their headphones, they get comfortable, they get their popcorn, they turn on their movie, they watch their Netflix, and they watch like a full episode. And some of these episodes, are like 30 minutes long, 40 minutes long, an hour long. Any Game of Thrones people here? Anyone here watching Game of Thrones or what is it, House of the Dragon or whatever? Anyone watching that? I am not. I have no pop culture knowledge whatsoever. I don't know how people have time for this stuff. But anyone watching that stuff, what I would say is that think of all that content that you're taking in, but you're not really taking in because it moves so fast. You could spend, an hour on like a 3-minute section, a 2-minute section, even a 1-minute section. It's so much content. So go slower with the movies and shows and things like that because there's so much to take in if you can bear it. Binge watched. Did you like the last season? All I hear is how much of a train wreck it was. The episodes are so long. How do you binge watch that? Like that's like your day. It's so long. It's so long. Girls like the deep. Girls like the deeper voice. Yeah, get your bass on, Daddy. Is that true? I heard girls like the deeper voice of foreigners. Does the deep voice come from foreigners? It's just, it's interesting because I don't. I don't know if it's the deep voice or just kind of just the accent. I think people are naturally intrigued by things that are different than what they normally interact with. So when you meet a quote unquote foreigner, you're meeting someone that has a different manner of speaking that you may or may not have ever really encountered before. So there's kind of that interest aspect to it. I don't know if it's just because of like the deeper voice of being a foreigner. I don't know if that's actually the case or not. So I think it's more just curiosity and just something that sounds new. Um, for instance, Italian. I mean, there was a time in the U.S. where Italian accents were much, much, much more popular. Think of like early 1900s when some people from the South were coming to the U.S. Nowadays, there definitely aren't as many Italians or a lot of people. That the neighborhoods themselves might be Italian, but we're talking, like second, third, fourth generation. Where I grew up, Philadelphia has a large Italian population. New York has a large Italian, like historically Italian population, things like that. And there's definitely, you can see some of the impacts on regional pronunciations, but it's not exactly the same as like an Italian accent. But I don't know if I'm getting into it. But I will say that in general, again, in American English, you don't have to speak with much resonance, but in general, people, when you're listening to people talk, people in general prefer that warmth, that resonance. Compare like again, like an E sound, which doesn't really have a lot of resonance, versus like an E sound, which has a lot more resonance. So in general, American English, that sounds more pleasant. American English is all about that breath. And so by adding that breath, by getting your diaphragm more involved, you're able to accomplish that a little bit more easily. So I think that might be more about what you're describing, Denny. Good question. We also had question here. Where is the video? Yes, if you go to the channel page, it's pretty much the latest shadowing video. I can show you really quick if you're interested. I hope to have more videos like that coming up, because I have a whole lot of content. Oh no, my link's not working. Have to do it manually. Give me one sec. I'll show you guys where the latest shadowing video is, in case you're curious. But some other things too. While I'm looking at that. Oh, we don't we don't talk about season 8. Season 8 never happened. Season 7 was bad too. Now that is a new one for me. I had not heard that Season 7 was that bad. I understand the British accent at the time. That's interesting. I've not heard people say that accents were a barrier for the show. Okay. I heard some people talking about House of the Dragon, and it sounded like they were enjoying it. So perhaps that's some positive things. And yes, for Diddy, I think it is more related to the accent. But again, if people are curious about the latest shadowing video, if you're interested in shadowing exercises, this is our channel page. Hey, channel. And you can see if I go to videos right here on the end, we have an interview that I have broken up for you. And I have lots more material like that on the way, but give me time. They don't take a whole lot of time to edit and create, but they do take some time, and I have other videos coming on. Hey, what's up to Edward checking in? Great to see you on around the channel. Glad you can make the live stream. Make sure to send us an audio file. If you are interested in getting some pronunciation feedback, you can see this link if you're interested in doing that. That's, again, Edward was just stopping by. Mr. Go Big or Go Home asks, this always confuses me. What's the difference between highway, freeway? Another thing you may see is like interstate or expressway. Basically, all of these things are kind of synonyms for roads that have exits, that don't really have intersections, that don't have stoplights, that don't have stop signs. Where basically in American English, or in the U.S., your speed limit is typically about 65 miles an hour, 65 to 70, 75 miles an hour. Those are your typical speed limits. So those are basically what your highway and freeway are, but they basically mean the same thing. In terms of usage, a lot of it probably depends on what part of the country you're in. So for instance, where I grew up, usually highway was the more common one, but people still understand freeway. All right. Great to see my channel. By the way, guys, if you've seen the shorts, let me know if you like the shorts, if you think the shorts are annoying. I'm basically just taking clips from old videos with parts that I think are helpful. If you're finding them annoying or horrible or helpful, that would be great to know for me. Or if you have a favorite format for the short, like if you just like the exercise ones and things like that, that would also be helpful for me, so I can make sure we're giving you things that you like. All right, going on to our next file here. Let's see what we have.
This connected quality combined with the intonation of the voice creates the music of American English.
Oh man, Emmanuel's giving a lecture.
This connected quality combined with the intonation of the voice creates the music of American English.
Yeah, Edward asked, is Autobahn, that's basically German, so it's not even English. I mean, you might you're not really going to hear that in the U.S. People calling it the Autobahn, but I imagine it's a German translation. So this is Emmanuel's speech. I'm just going to put it into the chat so people can see it. Oh no, did I lose the? I always do that. Why do I do that? Ugh. It was a 7-second one, right?
This connected quality combined with the intonation of the voice creates the music of American English.
I can see what you're doing. So it sounds to me like, let's imagine that you're giving a lecture, because that kind of, the patterns that you're using kind of sound like that, which is fine. Cool. We can do that. I'm also going to, I need to remember to make time markers for myself. So I'm going to type in 2531, feedback 2. So doing the manuals now. Okay. So
This connected quality.
this connected, it's like if I were saying this in a lecture, like if I had my, if I were giving a lecture, this connected quality, it's like I'd probably do something like that, like this connected quality, this connected quality. Or you could use like a rising, like this connected quality, like this connected quality, this connected quality. But I think I would probably opt for like this connected quality. So I would probably put a lot more stress on connected myself. But again, there's always, there's a lot of kind of personal preference and things to this. So it's not to say that what you're doing is wrong. It's just how I would do it myself.
This connected quality.
But I do think having a rising intonation on quality would be helpful because there's more information coming. So a lot of times when you have these sections where you say something and then you're describing it in like those like comma sections. So a lot of times you have a rising intonation on quality. So that's like a very common situation. Thanks, Denny. So I think I would do quality instead of quality.
The quality combined with the intonation of the voice.
Combined with the intonation of the voice. So I see what you're doing there. Okay. Combined with the connected quality of the voice. Combined with the intonation of the voice. Combined with the intonation of the voice. So yeah, I like what you're doing. And that's a very common pattern too. So like again, where you have these situations with the commas, for a lot of times when this happens, that section that's in the commas usually is going to have a little bit of a lower pitch. It's like disconnected quality combined with the intonation of the voice. Combined with the intonation of the voice. Notice how the pitch kind of drops for that section. That's a very common strategy. Again, for like lectures, public speaking, not as common for like talking with friends.
The quality combined with the intonation of the voice.
I would a little note there. So I mentioned that in that part, you usually want to keep the pitches lower. Intonation kind of climbed a little bit.
Combined with the intonation of the.
Combined with the intonation. Combined with the intonation versus combined with the intonation of the. I would have kept that flatter and lower for intonation. I would not have gone up personally. Okay. Combined with the intonation of the voice.
Combined with the intonation of the voice.
And just that little bump, like if you just kept that a little flatter, I think that would have really sounded a lot more natural. Just watch out for the intonation part.
With the intonation of the voice creates the music of American English.
Creates the music. Music. You're stressing the right thing, but a side note, thank you to Denny. Denny has noted that I need to hydrate. Denny has finally taken up his job. Thank you, Denny. Appreciate it. I have hydrated. It's happened. So that last part again.
Of the voice creates the music of American English.
Creates the music. I think that the more common way of doing that would have been music. Creates the music. Creates the music. So a heavier stress, a slightly higher pitch, and then a sharper falling intonation creates the music of American English.
Creates the music of.
Because so instead of a rising intonation creates the music, more creates the music. Creates the music of American English. So I think just some little things on pitch and some things on intonation would have really helped this sound. Like it already sounds pretty good, but this would have sounded even more natural. I think with some of those little adjustments. Just a note. So again, I would have read this as this connected quality combined with the intonation of the voice creates the music of American English.
This connected quality combined with the intonation of the voice creates the music of American English.
So, Manuel, hopefully that makes sense. Let me know if anything there does not come across as clear. We have a couple questions I would like to address. So I'm trying to make some timestamps for me, so that way when after the stream is done, I can mark this off more easily for people watching a little bit later. Okay. So some quick questions. Riddick says, when I listen, I feel a bit of a problem finding the stress in long sentences. I think that's a understandable problem. I divide sentences into thought groups, but find each stress word contains different stress, not equals. Okay, that's not necessarily a problem. You don't really want them to sound equal in all honesty. Usually in a sentence, even in a long sentence, there's only going to be one or two words that receive the heaviest stress. So just because a word is stressed doesn't mean it's going to sound like all the other words that are also stressed. Usually in a sentence, there's one word that has the heaviest stress. One or two words. So even that sentence I just said, there's one word that has the heaviest stress, like that's stressed heaviest on one and also on heaviest. So just because again there are multiple stresses in a sentence, they should not all sound equal. Your heaviest stress should have the highest pitch and also be held the longest in general. If you give me an example of a long sentence, we can kind of talk about where we would put the thought groups and where we would put the stresses, if there's a specific sentence that you're thinking about. Okay. And just a quick note, maybe you're joining us for the first time. Welcome. Let me know if this is your first time seeing us live. Oh my gosh. Can you say hello? You can disappear again. You can lurk in the background. That's fine. But if this is your first time, I would like to know. Or if you're watching on the replay and this is your first time, you can also let me know. And by the way, you can also, and maybe you're already doing this, you can also check out a podcast version of this. That's right. If you go to fluentamerican.com/podcast, for those of you who like to listen on your drives or in a commute or when you're taking a walk and you prefer an MP3 version, we do that. Again, fluentamerican.com/podcast. Okay. Mr. Go Big or Go Home has a comment. I don't know if it's just me, but typically I don't stutter. But every time I read a paragraph, I stutter every word. What I would say is that we've kind of talked about this before, but in terms of practicing English, I recommend not using written texts unless they're taking from spoken sources. So, for instance, transcripts from interviews or like screenplays, things like that, things that are intended to be spoken. Because if you're just like reading a text from your favorite book or even like audiobooks, they're not my favorite for people who are interested in improving speaking because, again, the way you write is just very different than the way you talk. So just some things to be mindful of. I think that you use interviews. Mr. Go Big, Go Home, I would ask you that if you're shadowing, like if you're listening to someone talk and you're repeating what they say, do you find that you have a similar problem there as well? Or is it specifically when you're reading things out loud? That is a question I would have for you. I'll wait for that. Pronunciation of come on. Would it be wrong to say is command? Come on. Versus come on. You really need an ah. The best answer I can give here is that you want to say an ah sound before that end. Man, come on. That's going to be your key thing.
Like what you're hearing? Let us know by liking and subscribing.
Rumeza always know what to say, the right thing. Thank you. I am less congested this week. I feel great. I feel good. Or at least as good as I usually know. No, the ah sound. Okay, just checking. It's always tricky with spelling. For Denny's question again for pronunciation, come on, would it be come on instead of come on? Would it be wrong to say come on? It needs to sound like man, come on. I mean, you could drag it like come on, or like something like that. But like usually, a more typical way would be come on. In all honesty. But again, if that's something you have questions about, that would be a great one for Youglish. Just like type that in and kind of see what's happening there. In all honesty. But yeah, I personally would say that's come on. Oh, my stream deck's not working. Another question here. What's the difference in the sentence? What's the difference? Can you get away with dropping the T for the TS in what's? What's the difference? Can you get away with dropping it? Yeah, you can get away with dropping it because, again, it's not the stress. The stress is on difference. Like the what's the, as long as your vowel sound is right, you have a lot of flexibility in the sounds that come before. So I would say that, yeah, I don't think it's the end of the world if you drop the T. Like, what's the difference? What's the difference? Or what's the different? What's the difference? I think you could hear both, honestly. I am open to that. Mr. Go Big Go Home, responding to earlier when he was asking or mentioned that he stutters when he's reading a paragraph out loud. It's only happening when he's reading things, not repeating. Okay. Then it's not something personally I'm overly worried about then. Because again, those written sources are just so different. So I don't know if other people we can ask. This is a question for you guys. Let us know in the comments or or if you're watching a replay or if you're watching it live with us. Let us know if you have this experience. I don't know if it's just me. Typically, I don't stutter. Every time I read a paragraph, I stutter every word. Does anyone else have that experience of stuttering when you're trying to read a text? Does anyone else do that? My guess also too is that if you read that text 3 or 4 times, like if you do that every day for like a week, I imagine that over time that would happen less frequently. I would imagine, but you can let me know if I'm way wrong. Another question here. Would you advise learners of American English against speaking with a drawl? I would love to know how you're defining a drawl, because that could also have a pretty big impact in terms of what I would say to this. Would you advise learners of American English against speaking with a drawl? I mean, what I would say is that making sure that your vowel sounds are clear. If you're speaking with a drawl, but your vowels are clear, okay. But in general, drawls are, I would say, kind of like a stereotypical feature of like some Southern accents and things. So there are some regional things at play. There are times too, people go to parts of the country and they want that specific accent. I've met students that spent a lot of time in California, so they picked up like Valley Girl accents. Or sometimes people like the Southern accent, so they go down south, like they go to Texas and they pick up a Texan accent, and cool. If you find an accent that works for you and you like it, who am I to say anything about it? Cool. Mr. Go Big or Home says, I think it might be because I have ADHD and makes me not able to concentrate. That certainly can be a factor. There are, I feel like, links between ADHD and things like dyslexia and things, and also perhaps even stuttering to a degree, but not my area of expertise. I am not able to diagnose those things. Riddick. Let me see. Riddick says, okay, so this is an example. Riddick has just given us a question or an example of a very long sentence, and he wants us to kind of talk about it in terms of where we would put the stresses and the thought groups and things like that, and what would be heaviest. So we'll kind of do this. Okay. Drawl is kind of like when you drag sounds out. I don't really speak with a drawl, so anything I say would be mad stereotypical. My best suggestion would be go to YouTube and type in examples of a drawl or Southern drawl and things like that, and then kind of listen to it. I would not be able to do it justice, I'll be honest. So I would definitely research it. Riddick will look at your sentence in a moment, but Denny is saying some horrible things. We do not like the Dallas Cowboys. We do not like the Dallas Cowboys here. I am from Philadelphia. We are in Eagles territory. So for anyone here that enjoys American football, I sincerely hope your team is the Philadelphia Eagles. We do not, or pretty much any other team. So there's only a couple teams that you cannot be a fan of and be part of my discussion here. You cannot be a fan of the Dallas Cowboys. You cannot be a fan of the New York Giants. Washington, the Commanders, I'm kind of don't really care. But the Giants and the Cowboys, no, we don't do that. I think a lot of people actually would really like American football if they understood how it worked. I think it just confuses people with all the rules and things. But I think a lot of people would actually like it. It's okay, Danny. Sono solo un po' arrabbiato, solo un po'. Yeah, okay. other questions here. So many questions. What is the most neuter American accent choir? If you look up Midwest American accent, that's the quote unquote standard. So for instance, when you hear news anchors talk on TV, that's generally the accent that they're using is a quote unquote Midwest. But you do need to understand too that news anchors and things, they often go to broadcasting school. That's why news anchors all sound the same. In all parts of the country they all sound the same because a lot of them go to broadcasting school. You learn certain ways of speaking, somewhat like this. It just sounds really profound, everything they say. Let me see. Look up Southern sayings. Yep. Okay, going back to Riddick's sentence. So Riddick has given us, again, this long sentence, and we're going to talk about how you can break this up in a way that sounds natural in terms of the rhythms and things and stresses in the thought groups. So, I want to offer my warmest greetings. So, for instance, you could have a thought group that ends there with a heavy stress on warmest, or you could stress greetings. It's kind of your call. I want to offer my warmest greetings. Or you could say, I want to offer my warmest greetings. That's another option. To all of the wonderful friends and family members who have gathered here today. So that would probably be my second thought group. To all of the wonderful friends and family members who have gathered here today. I would stress all. That would be my heavy stress. I want to offer my warmest greetings to all of the wonderful friends and family members who have gathered here today for the wonderful and momentous occasions of my son's, probably momentous occasion, singular, of my son's possessive rehearsal dinner. For the wonderful momentous occasion of my son's rehearsal dinner. So you could either stress momentous or momentous, or you could stress and. Those would be my big ones. The wonderful and momentous, or wonderful and momentous, either one of those occasions of my son's rehearsal dinner. And then you would stress rehearsal. So putting all of that together, it would sound something like this. I want to offer my warmest greetings to all of the wonderful friends and family members who have gathered here today for the wonderful and momentous occasion of my son's rehearsal dinner. That's one way you could read that. Again, there's a million ways you could do that, but hopefully you can model that and get an idea of some things that you can use in your own pronunciation. Riddick wants some greetings in Italian. Oh God. Denny is our resident expert. Anything I tell you has a very high chance of being wrong. I mean, ciao, buongiorno, buonasera, uè, come va, che dici? I don't know. I feel like those are a lot of your standard ones. But then you can throw in some fun ones, I'm sure. Maybe even some dialect. All right, but you guys aren't here for that. You guys are here for some more audio files. So I'm going to make a note. So we're at 4303. We are back to audio feedback. What is this? Feedback number 3. See what we got. Okay. And move myself to the side. Okay, what file is this?
Domani, domani.
Okay, speaking of Italian. So Denny brought up a great question. He was wondering about, we are comparing some vowel sounds here. So I want you guys to listen to this. This was the 11-second one. So we're going to compare short I sounds and E sounds in Italian, specifically like Southern accents.
Domani,
So one thing here is already I'm hearing like E.
domani,
Domani, E. Domani, E. Again, this is Italian, not English.
domani, domani.
Domani, E. So even there, I'll be honest, the placement still sounds a little high. Domani, E. Mm-hmm. Denny, give us some fun ones. Denny has, again, said ciao, buongiorno, buonanotte. But there gotta be, like, what do you say when you see your friends?
Domani, domani, kitchen, kitchen,
So like again, I like that last kitchen
kitchen,
a little bit, but so kitchen versus kitchen. So hear difference between and eh. It's a little bit too. And again, obviously we're not saying that they sound exactly the same, but in terms of similarity, I could see a bit, but I still think you do need to go a little lower and a little bit more open.
kitchen,
Kitchen, kitchen,
kitchen,
kitchen, kitchen,
kitchen,
kitchen,
kitchen,
k, 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 k. Can you hear a difference there?
kitchen,
Kitchen. Some of that too. There might be a little bit of interference too with kitchen. The second syllable is a little strong, like chin, kitchen. It's like whereas like typically if you heard that like kitchen, the chin sound's gonna be so fast because it's reduced.
kitchen,
Kitchen, kitchen. So again, compare kitchen, kitchen.
kitchen,
So again, I think that I still think in general you probably want even more airflow and even still slightly lower. But I could see the general idea of what you're saying about the vowel sounds. Other quick questions here too. Is the L sound always dark in American English? No, it is not. But if you see an L at the end of a word and in the middle of a word, those are the places where those L's are almost always going to be dark L's. If you see an L at the start of a word, it's very often going to be a light L sound, like L. A great question there. Okay, thanks for sending that file, Danny. Got another 11-second file. Let's see, who is this? I'll make a note too. This is going to be feedback 4. 4655, feedback 4.
So this is where it starts. We intercept roughly 60% of secure Japanese radio traffic, and we've cracked enough of the code to be able to break about 40% of those messages.
Okay. Sycamore, send in the files. Tutto a posto. Ma Danny, dai, raga, non è scritto così. Tutti questi consonanti doppie. A posto. 2 parole, no? No? I've heard about that for CEO. For just talking about like people.
So this is where it starts. We intercept roughly 60% of secure Japanese radio traffic, and we've cracked enough of the code to be able to break about 40% of those messages.
This is pretty clear. So let's see if we can identify some little things to discuss.
So this is where it starts. So this is where it starts.
So this is where it starts. I think that there's nothing wrong with the way you said it. You could lower the pitch a little bit. It's a little high.
So this is where it starts.
This is where it starts. So this is where it starts. This is where it starts. It starts. You could also consider starting the climb up for the intonation a little bit on it. It starts. This is where it starts. This is where it starts.
So this is where it starts.
I also think the R sounds maybe just a touch strong. Starts. It says starts. It's more starts. So you could weaken that R sound a little bit.
So this is where it starts. We intercept roughly 6.
Watch out a little bit for N again. Short I plus N. So it's not E, it's more N, N.
We intercept.
We intercept
roughly 60%.
Also a little bit for roughly 2 on your schwa. So it's not ra, it's more ruh. It's like, I would do this sort of progression like ruh, rough, ruh, rough. Just practice that and see if it's staying the same. If you find that you're saying ra, rough, yeah, that's an immediate sign that you're linking an R sound to your schwas a little bit difficult.
We intercept roughly 60% of secure Japanese radio traffic.
I like how you said Japanese radio traffic. It sounds really lots of breath coming through. That's great.
Secure Japanese radio traffic, and we've cracked enough of the.
We've cracked good on weave, like really reducing it to, and we've
traffic, and we've cracked enough of.
We've cracked enough. We've cracked enough, and we've cracked enough. Good.
We've cracked enough of the code to be able.
I want to hear how you're saying enough for that schwa, those schwa sounds there. So again, enough should have two schwa sounds. Second one is your stress.
And we've cracked enough of the code.
Maybe a little bit on enough is kind of turning into enough versus enough. So you can practice that and see if what I'm saying is right or not. But you can say like enough. And make sure all of those are sounding the same.
And we've cracked enough of the code to be able to break about 40% of those messages.
40% of those messages. That sounds really good. That you could also do that.
We've cracked enough of the code to be able to break about.
You have an opportunity with the to be able to, because right now it sounds a little choppy.
And we've cracked enough of the code to be able to.
You know, it's just you're hitting all the words, but it's just not compared to everything else that came before it. It's not flowing to the same degree. So you do have an opportunity there to do more of like to be able to break, code to be able to break, code to be able to break. So notice some things are happening linking wise. It's like code the could be. So notice that it's not code to be, it's more could be, a flap T sound. Could be, and then able to break. So that's the other phrase you can practice there. Able to break, able to break, able to break. Code to be able to break, code to be able to break. And listen to how it was said originally.
And we've cracked enough of the code to be able to break about.
Yes, just kind of something to pay attention to, pay attention to the flow. But yeah, those are the kind of just the first things that stand out to me. Let me know what you guys think. Other things standing out to you. Sycamore, if you're watching, let me know. If you're seeing this in the replay, leave a comment. But hopefully that was helpful. Lots of great stuff here. Thanks for sending that file. We always appreciate it. Okay, I've got 3 files from our original group. Take a quick water break, though.
Like what you're hearing? Let us know by liking and subscribing.
It's always great. So Emmanuel is talking about tutto bene from Italian, talking about Romanian equivalents. You know, all like the Spanish ones and the Portuguese ones and Romanian. It's always so interesting to hear, in my opinion. Actually, before we take a look at our next file, just some quick reminders about some things that we do offer here with Fluent American. So we've mentioned earlier that one thing that we have is a group called Mission English, where in case, again, you're not familiar with it, what we do is we meet for a 30-minute live stream, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And we do that 18 times a month at least. Oftentimes it's more. And you join us on the live streams. You appear on screen, like right over there, like right next to me. And we talk about your pronunciation. And we give suggestions and things like that. So if that sounds like something you would be interested in, we would really love to have you. I want to give you an example of the types of feedback. Just to note, the audio sometimes comes in a little heavy, so you might want to turn down your speaker just for a second. But check this out. Ooh, ooh. Notice that for me, I'm not really having that ooh, ooh. And it doesn't sound exactly the same, like ooh and ooh, but they're close enough that for the speech that you're doing in daily life, it'll be okay. Really nice day.
Really nice day.
So what I'm hearing, so I heard really nice day. So what happened was you put day at a lower pitch. Really nice day.
Just loose.
Okay. I would say, I thought for the most part it sounded pretty good. I think there were a couple words that we do want to watch out for a little bit. Hey. Yeah, there you go. That last one's great. So again, that's all part of Mission English, where we get to hang out a lot. It's always great hanging out with people more directly as opposed to like live streams where we're just kind of communicating via chat. So it's great to have you on screen. And you don't even have to appear on the live streams too. All of them are saved in the group, so that way you can watch previous lessons and things. So even if you join today, you can see all the live streams that we did so far within the last month. So it'd be great to see you. Again, you go to fluentamerican.com/Mission English to join us. We also have a group on Telegram where if you just want some daily practice for like 2 minutes, we can do that. You send files and we take a look at them. Anyways, let's go back to checking out what you guys have sent me for pronunciation. I'm going to share my screen and audio and everything. Write some more. Got a long file here. This one's about 20 seconds. And makes a quick note. We are at the 54-minute mark. This is feedback number 5. Let's take a quick listen here.
Heather, Heather, love, this is shady me. Heather, Heather, love, let us feed and feed. Heather, Heather, sweet, as a cowslip bed. Heather, Heather, sweet, with dewy spread.
Okay. It's interesting. Commander just asked any singer files. Well, not not that singer, but we do have this singer too. I mean, she's pretty good, right? There's some things that we can identify here. So this is a poem by Keats. Getting some romantic poetry on.
Heather, Heather, love.
I actually like your schwa sound and your short I sounds. Again, tend to be somewhat tricky, but I thought those actually sounded very clear. So again, that I sound on hither, and then love with the schwa sound.
Heather, Heather, love.
Hither, hither, love. And again, we've talked in the past about TH sounds, so you can do like a hither, hither, so that's perfectly fine. You can also have weaker THs as well. So instead of hither, hither, you could do hither, hither, just another option there where the tongue's not making as much contact with the teeth. But moving up, and Emmanuel notes that her voice is so pleasant. It really is. And I think a large part of that is because of the amount of breath that's coming through. There's a lot of breath. In general, people who do singing, I see that Mr. Go Big Girl Home says that deserves some applause. So why not? I think so. I would agree with that. And again, so in general, singers are often trying to incorporate the diaphragm when you're singing. You're not trying to sing from your lungs. You're trying to sing from your core. So getting your diaphragm more involved is helpful just for singing in general. And that's across languages.
Heather, Heather, love, this is shady me.
Tis a shame. Just a quick note.
This is
I
shady.
want to hear tis again. Tis.
This is.
You actually, this is one case where you'd actually probably get a slightly heavier T sound, more like tis, tis. Just a note.
This is shady me. Heather, Heather, love.
I like your R sounds. R sounds are really good. Not sounding overly powerful. It's not like hither. It's more hither. I like the amount of airflow you're getting through is great.
The love. Let us feed and feed.
Good E sounds linking to the D. Feed and feed.
Heather, Heather, sweet as a cowslip bed.
Let's hear cowslip bed. I have no idea what a cowslip bed is.
Feed. Heather, Heather, sweet as a cowslip bed.
Cowslip bed. Good.
Heather, Heather, sweet with dewy spread.
There's maybe a little note here. Back up more.
Sweet as a cowslip bed. Heather, Heather, sweet with dewy spread.
Just a note on a very, very minor thing on dispread or bispread with do bispread. That T sound at the end did sound very voiceless. So in general, you'd want that to be more voiced, even if it's held. It's like bispread or bispread, but not bispread. So it's just one very minor thing to look out for. But yeah, I liked it. Lots of very open sounds, lots of breath running through. Those are all the things that in general you're looking for in American English, and I think you're doing a great job. Keep singing. Maybe we all just need to sing instead of talk. Maybe we all just need to sing instead of talk. No? Then he notes Italian is very close to Romanian. Yeah, even like when I was in Perugia, I had a roommate from Brazil. It was really weird because he didn't speak Italian, he didn't speak English, so I pretty much just talked to him in Italian. He would talk to me in Portuguese, and there would be times where like I understood every single word he said, just as often as there would be times where he would say things and I'd be like, I have no idea what you just said. I have like no clue. It's interesting how that works. But again, that was Shoke's file. Moving on to our next one. Where are we at for time? And this is at 59:18. Okay, next file. This will be feedback 6. Oh, Nick asks a great question. Mission English, have a set time for every weekday. Yeah, we do have a schedule that we follow. And one of the nice things about too is, as the program grows, I'll be able actually to do even more live streams. And my goal is not to change the price. So again, the price is $30 for the month. But, if we're able to get more members, then I can do more streams and things like that. But in general, this is our schedule right now. This is all based on New York times. Okay. So for instance, 8 o'clock East Coast on Mondays and also Thursdays. And then on Fridays, 9:30 in the morning, 9:30 in the morning, and 9:30 in the morning. Again, East Coast time. Okay. Trying to pick time zones that work for different areas. I know the 8 o'clock ones, the 8 p.m. sessions are obviously tough for Europe. I'm not going to lie, but they work well for, again, people in South America. They work good for people in the U.S. They work good for people in Asia. So that's kind of why I did that. Sorry, Europe. European time zones are just super hard to navigate with. Same thing with like Middle East. Middle Eastern time zones with the U.S. are a bit tricky. And then Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, again, we meet in the morning. Okay, so trying my best to be flexible with the times, but this is the schedule that we currently follow for Mission English. All right, our next pronunciation file.
Do you mind if I put you on hold for a moment? Thank you for holding.
Okay, so we got an actual real sentence from Danny, which is great.
Do you mind if I put you on hold for a moment? Thank you for holding.
Okay, I think you're doing a lot of interesting things here. This certainly can work. Like, let's imagine you work for a call center. And in fact, we recently did a video, just call center phrases and things like that.
Do you mind if I put you on hold for a moment?
You mind if I put you on hold for a moment? So you're using some falling in intonation there,
Put you on hold for a moment.
which is fine. There's not necessarily anything wrong with that. But again, in general, let's give context. Let's say you're actually working at like a call center or you're a receptionist and you're trying to handle this call. Most likely, the way that you're going to do this is actually with a rising intonation, like moment. You might have to put you on hold for a moment. You might have to put you on hold for a moment. A lot of times when you use falling intonation, it makes things sound very firm, a little colder. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It just doesn't sound as friendly as a rising intonation in general. And in fact, a lot of times you'll see native speakers using rising intonation in places you may not expect as a way to make things sound a little friendlier or to soften them. So, other thing to keep in mind too, this is a yes no question. Okay, so like, do you mind if that's a yes no thing? Yes, you do mind, or no, you don't mind. So, with yes no questions in general, you would expect a rising intonation. It doesn't always work out that way, but it's just kind of the general tendency. So that's just kind of something to be aware of. I think a rising intonation would have sounded a little bit more natural in this situation.
Do you mind if I put you on hold for a moment?
Do you mind if I put you on hold? Do you mind if I put you on hold for a moment? Instead of on hold for a moment more, on hold. So I would have actually probably also done a rising intonation on hold as well. On hold, hold for a moment, hold for a moment. Do you mind if I put you on hold for a moment? See if there's any other parts to that part.
Do you mind if I put you on hold for a moment?
I like your put you. Good linking with the T followed by the Y sound. Comes like put you. Do you mind if I put you on?
If I put you on hold for a moment?
I like your stresses. So hold is your stress. I think that's a great place to put it.
Do you mind if I put you on hold for a moment? Do you mind if I put you on hold for a moment?
Yeah, I think those are going to be my major comments for the first half. And then that last section.
Thank you for holding.
Okay, so thank you for holding. A lot of times when you just have holding, thank you for holding. I probably actually would have opted for the NG instead of cutting that. Okay, it just sounds a little bit more, I don't know, slightly clearer articulation. And if you're doing a job where you would need to actually say this phrase, let's put some context here. Let's again imagine you're actually working at a call center. Let's say you actually need to, make this or say this sentence for your job. What I would say is you're probably going to articulate a little bit more clearly, so you're probably going to get the NG sound. Holding. Thank you for holding. Thank you for holding. So that's, I think, instead of just holding, thank you for holding. You did probably, again, not necessarily anything wrong with that, but I think you're more likely to hear the NG sound in that context.
Thank you for holding.
Thank you for holding. I would also maybe have raised the pitch a little bit because on holding, because that's your stress word. And again, I think it will make it sound a little bit friendlier. Because if you're just like, thank you for holding, thank you for holding, versus like, thank you for holding, thank you for holding. Just to me, that just sounds a little bit friendlier, keeps the mood a little lighter. And again, if you're saying this something like this, you're probably working again, something related to customer service, and you're trying to keep that person on the phone happy. And I think that's probably the more common way to do that. Just sounds a little bit nicer.
Thank you for holding.
It also sounds a little bit flat if you do it the way here. Like, thank you for holding. Thank you for holding. You're like, thank, hold, thank, hold. Like, thank, hold, thank, hold. It just adds a little bit more contrast. Holding is probably the heavier stress. If you want thank to be the heavier stress, go higher there. Thank you for holding. Thank you for holding. So one of these words, whichever you choose, probably needs to be a little bit higher because right now they're both sounding almost the same and they're both sounding a little bit flat. But those would be my big recommendations there, Denny. Thank you for sending that file. Oh, you had also mentioned I need to work on the pitches on the schwa sound. You mind if I put you on hold for a moment? Is there a specific schwa sound here in particular? And don't get upset, Denny. It's okay. It's okay. Non c'è da lamentarsi, raga. It's okay. Also, a question here from Edward. Edward asks, can you reduce hold on? Can you holding for a moment? No. No, you can't reduce that. You can't just take off that O on, because it's a separate word. If it was one word, like, you can reduce, like, holding to, like, holding. What are you holding? You could do that, but hold on. Also because, like, hold on is a phrasal verb, and typically with phrasal verbs, you stress the particle or that preposition. So hold's not your stress in most situations. It's actually on. Hold on. Like, hold on a minute. That's just a note on that. Hopefully that makes sense, Edward. Just a great, great question. All right, we are cruising right along, folks. Cruising right along. I have one last file from our original group. And let's see which one this is. Yeah, stress is on. Exactly, stress is on. So you can't reduce that. Or another reason why you can't.
Ain't over to the fat lady sings.
Okay, Marco's going back to the idioms. Okay. Ain't over till the fat lady sings. We get this nice little 3-word group in there. Fat lady sings. Okay. Before we get to that, Denny mentions, again, in terms of schwa sounds and pitches. It's like just. I'll give you just a couple quick phrases before we look at Marcos's sentence. Just some phrases with just. I think it'll just take a minute as I'm typing these. Just a quick note again.
Like what you're hearing? Let us know by liking and subscribing.
Just kind of tricky because just is a word that very often, if you see it, it does often get the stress. Not always, but again, often. It's like, for instance, this first one here. It'll just take a minute. It'll just take a minute. It'll just take a minute. Notice that last T is probably going to just link with take. So it's more like just take a minute. It'll just take a minute. I just need a pencil. I just need a pencil. Again, we're seeing just getting stress. I just need a pencil. I just need a pencil. So again, the sound you're getting is just. I just need. It's just an hour away. It's just an hour away. It's just an hour away. So one thing you're seeing again, just very often receives stress. Very often is the heaviest stress. Very often has the highest pitch. It'll just take a minute. I just need a pencil. It's just an hour away. And this is just some common things there with just. Hopefully that is helpful. Take a listen to the last, again, original file. Yeah, it's often if the next word often starts with a T, then again, that T on just often links with that T, or it gets held a little bit. But honestly, if the next word is not really stressed, again, you can probably get away with just kind of dropping it, in all honesty. Good question from Emmanuel. Next one here.
Ain't over until the fat lady sings.
Right. And this is our sentence, and we are again at feedback. What feedback number is this? Feedback 7. Okay. And where are we at? Feedback 7. What's our time? 1:09. You guys have done it. Oh my gosh. You did it again. You spent over an hour at the Schwa Mill. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for being with us for a full hour. It's incredible. On to the next round.
Ain't over until the fat lady sings.
It ain't over until the fat lady sings. So again, we have what I often call like a 3-word group. This is where you have 3 words that kind of work together as a single unit. And in most situations where this occurs, what you're going to find happening is that losing my mouse. What you're going to often find in these situations is that the first word in the 3-word group will get a little bit of stress, and then you'll get a lot heavier stress on the last word. It's like fat lady sings, fat lady sings. Ain't over till the fat lady sings. So I think your most standard stresses for this sentence would be ain't or over. You could say it ain't over, or you could say it ain't over. Either one of those. I think if you stress ain't, it sounds a little bit more emotional. Okay. It ain't over until the fat lady sings. And then most likely sings is going to get your heavy stress. It ain't over until the fat lady sings. Or it ain't over until the fat lady sings. Either one of those would be your most common way of saying that sentence. Let's see what stresses Marcos is using.
Ain't over until the fat lady sings.
Yeah, so I think he's kind of hitting the same things that we mentioned. Ain't, a little stress on fat, and then a heavier stress on sings. And I think that's a very common pattern there. Let's listen to the vowels.
Ain't over until the fat lady sings. Ain't over until.
Oh, he's not even saying it. He's just kind of starting at ain't. And that's a very common strategy, actually, in terms of hearing the phrase. You know, a lot of times people might just chop off that it and just start on ain't. Like, ain't over till the fat lady sings. Or, for instance, let's say you have a car that's not working and someone asks you, hey, is your car okay? And you could respond like, ain't working. You know, you can, in these situations, you could remove the subject. And it still sounds pretty natural.
Ain't over until the fat lady sings. Ain't over until.
Ain't over sounds pretty good. I like that a lot.
Ain't over until the fat lady sings.
Fat lady sings. I think that lady, if I have anything to nitpick here, is probably lady is probably a little bit too choppy. It's really slowing you down.
Fat lady sings. Ain't over until the fat lady sings.
Ain't over until the fat lady sings.
Ain't over until the fat lady sings.
Can you say lady? Lady? Can you weaken that D sound? Can you say lady 3 times? Like lady. Lady. What's actually happening when I'm saying that is the tip of my tongue is staying down. Okay? Lady. So I'm not actually raising it or even really flapping. And that's something I think can be really helpful. Thanks to Danny for stopping by. Good to see you, sir. Have a good day. We'll talk soon. Okay? Enjoy your night. So that would be my big suggestion there for lady. I would just say weaken your D sound because the D sound's a little bit too strong. So it's making that little sequence a little bit choppier than it needs to be. That's just a note there. But thanks to Emmanuel for thanks to Emmanuel. Well, thank you, Emmanuel. Yes, thank you for sending the file. But thank you also to Marcos for sending that too. Okay. I need to scout these last 2 files just to make sure we're not doing anything crazy on the stream. Okay. As I'm doing that, though, one thing that we mentioned earlier was that we have, in addition to Mission English, if that sounds like too much of a commitment or maybe a little bit expensive, $30 a month is a bit of a burden for what you're looking for pronunciation practice, then what I would recommend is a second program called our Telegram.
Eel, please. I think your O sounds are a little bit tense. I'm getting a lot of O. Take off the T on center.
Hello to Justin checking in. Good to see you, sir. Glad you could join us a little bit late. If you want to send a quick file, you're more than welcome to. Oh man, enjoy that pineapple. Get it going. Okay, I'm checking out these files. This is quite a file. I don't know if I can play both of them. But we are going to take a giant risk.
Hey everyone, it's Jeff.
All my troubles seem so far.
Okay, alright.
All right, I hope you guys are ready for this experience that we are about to partake on together, because as Emmanuel says, yes, it is time. Because it is. It is time. Because we have been graced with some audio files. Again, I think we can only listen to this one because these files are massive. But I hope you are ready, as if that's even possible. Here it is, the singer.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. You're all very welcome to Roach Air Flight or 401 to London Heathrow. Before our departure, may we have your attention? Welcome crew point 9 to safety features aboard this Airbus A320. To fasten your seatbelt into the red lens into the buckle, as cabin crew now demonstrating. To secure seatbelt, pull on the loose end of the strap. To open, lift the vocal cover, which should be faced away from you. In the event of loss of cabin pressure, oxygen masks like these will fall automatically from the panel above your head. Pull the last on sharply, cover with your mat and nurse, and secure with the elastic strap. Please read normally as Cap Crew and I are now demonstrating. Only when you have secured your own mask should you attend to children, other passengers. On board this aircraft, there are 6 emergency exits. 2 doors at the rear of the cabin, left and right. 2 doors at the front of the cabin, left and right. There are 2 window exits at the center of the cabin, left and right.
That was so interesting, just in terms of like how like the shifts in like the audio and the accents and things. Like where we started was very different than where we ended, which I appreciate. Singer, if you're listening to this, I really hope you're pursuing something like acting or like voiceover work or things like that. Or maybe even making your own like script. Because these are skills. These are real skills. All right. On that note, guys, you have spent the last hour and about 20 minutes with us here at the Schwa Mill. And again, we do our series of corrections and things like that every single Saturday, usually at a slightly different time, but very similar this time. So again, 1:30 p.m. New York, we meet. You can send us audio files. If you did not get a chance to send us pronunciation this week, well, we hope to hear from you next week. And as always, take a look at our other videos. Again, we have a video coming out tomorrow talking about strategies for approaching learning an accent, whether you've been learning a language for a long time or you're thinking about starting a new language of study. I'm going to show you how far I can get with pronunciation in 30 minutes with a language that I have never studied before. And you can let me know, Jeff, you did horrible. You didn't get any better. Or you can be like, oh my gosh, Jeff, you did so much better. And you can also let me know what your own pronunciation experience would have been if you studied pronunciation for 30 minutes. It would be great to see. Keep an eye out for that video. Thank you guys so much for spending part of your Saturday with me. I know there are millions of options out there for American English pronunciation. So the fact that you entrust us a little bit with improving, it means a lot to me. But anyways, have a good day, have a good night, good afternoon. We will talk soon, and take care.